This NFL Week 1 Player Props edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MACHINE and score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And make sure to enter the free roll football contest, up to $3,500 in prizes up for grabs. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today.
And taking a shot to ground downfield. He makes the catch, and he gets in for the touchdown. The catch is made by Calvin Ridley. Wilson, what as he throws deep downfield. It's going to be caught by Ridley.
Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is officially NFL Week 1, starting here on, well, it started on Thursday, going into Friday, but the bulk of the games happening on Sunday as usual. We'll get into our NFL Week 1 player props. We'll recap our picks from yesterday for the Thursday night game. We'll recap the game as well, and then we'll get into our player props, of course, for NFL Week 1. But joining me here to help me break everything down happening on the grass for NFL Week 1, got my guy here with me. It's ChrisBeCappinn. Chris, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Outside of Derrick Henry not getting any more rushing attempts, after the first drive for the most part. Still a little bit salty about that one, but we were able to catch a couple other props that we gave out for last night's game, and super excited for tonight's game. But more so for Monday Night Football, man. Not Monday Night Football, for Sunday football. It's just gonna feel, it's gonna feel like fall again. It's gonna feel like you just can smile with all your teeth showing when 1 o'clock rolls around Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And I'm excited to jump into the props with you as well. I know we talked a little bit offline. I was just telling you it's hard to kind of go through and I guess reduce the amount of plays, because we typically like to keep it at about 3, but we'll get into it and talk about the honorable mentions as well. I'm excited to get to it with you, Let's jump into it. Let's go.
Yeah, last night, obviously, the rematch of the AFC Championship, and honestly, a great game last night between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Chiefs do get the victory by a toe. Literally, we can say that 27-20 in favor of the defending Super Bowl champions. And this game had a little bit of everything in it, right? We had defense that we saw turnovers being forced by each team. We had some great drives led by the quarterbacks, obviously Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and Lamar again just doing Lamar things, right? With his legs, of course. Last night had well over 100 rushing yards, and Chris, I know I gave out Lamar Jackson as on the over on his rushing yards, and every time I saw him dropping back taking off with his legs, I just saw little dollar signs flying across his head as he, ran down the field. And officially last night for Lamar Jackson, he finished the game with 16 carries, 122 yards last night. And I gave this prop at 675.5 was the best number at the board at the time, just in the first game of the regular season. He covers 18% of that total there for me. So a pretty good start there for Lamar Jackson's rushing. On the other side of it, I know you and we talked about our props, and we kind of recap it here quickly. We both like Derrick Henry yesterday, come out and kind of make a statement and be that, I guess, the bell cow for this Baltimore Ravens team, but only finished the game yesterday with 13 carries, 46 rushing yards. Wasn't really much of a factor. Did have some conversions in there, I think, late in that second half going into the fourth quarter where they went for it on fourth down. But outside of that, it just felt like that, Derrick Henry couldn't get it going, or more so, the defensive line in that front seven of the Kansas City Chiefs was really, really good. Really containing Derrick Henry. And there was moments where we could have seen him, take off and have those explosive runs. But again, we've got to give a lot of credit to the Chiefs, for where they were able to at least contain Derrick Henry last night. But it was a great game. Obviously, we saw at the end that we're literally a Kevin Durant toe, as we like to compare it to, from possibly tying the game, or when he caught the touchdown before it was reviewed that he was ruled out of bounds, you saw Jim Harbaugh holding up the 2 sign. He was ready to go for 2 and go in there and get the victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that would have been really interesting, at least for the spread for this game there. But Chris, I'll hand it over to you, man. Just general thoughts about the game, some of our player props that we did talk about. I'll get into the ones that we did cash here, but I think Derrick Henry was a bigger story for us last night.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think my consensus of it all was it started off really good. I think he had 6 carries in the first quarter, even with those formation malfunctions, we'll call them. And we kind of expected that just a tad bit. I didn't think with the one of the narratives being that Baltimore didn't run the ball as much as they should have in the AFC Championship game. I thought that we would see a lot more carries for Derrick Henry. We talked about it on the season long. Taking his touchdown prop to go up and over him, but this was a team in Baltimore last season that rushed the ball. They were number 1 in rush attempts on first down. They were top 5 on second down. They were top 5 on third down. Yeah. So to see so many play actions, really, for me, I think, it was just I think it was Harbaugh and maybe who was the offensive coordinator? Monken, right? Todd Monken?
Yeah. Yep.
I think it was those guys understanding that offensive line needs time to gel with those 3 new offensive linemen in there, and they would just put the ball in Lamar's hands and told him to, go make a play. I don't think he rushes, 22 times because my argument yesterday, was, Baltimore ran the ball more times than anybody last year, 31 and a half times per game, and they got to 31 yesterday. It was just not the way we expected it all to be, and I thought Lamar might, wear down. But hats off to Lamar for keeping his guys in it even when they went down, and looked like the game was over with until he started that 2-minute drive with less than 2 minutes left. So yeah, it was a very, very intriguing game. I think I wanted to turn it off and go to sleep, but I said if Kansas City's not up by 2 possessions, then I'll continue to watch. Yeah. And I'm glad I stayed up for it because, like you said, if Isaiah Likely's cleats were white, then we may have a different story today. Yeah. So very intriguing game. Nice way to start it off. Upset that we didn't cash that over because that was my favorite with Derrick Henry on his rush attempts. But yeah, we'll see. They got the Raiders up next, so we'll see how that goes. They got some extra prep time as well, so we'll see how they bounce back next week in Baltimore.
Yeah, before we continue the conversation here from Thursday Night Football, let me quickly remind everybody about the Sports Gambling Podcast. It's back, picking every NFL game against the spread like they've done since 2011. Plus, make sure to enter the free roll football contest up to $3,500 in cash up for grabs. Sign up at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. Yeah, kind of getting back to last night here, Chris. I mean, the only prop that I did of the 3 that we gave out, Zay Flowers receptions was the one that did cash for me over 4.5 receptions. And that one I think got there by the first half. But it really, like you mentioned, it was a Isaiah Likely show last night for the Baltimore Ravens to finish the game with 12 targets, 9 receptions, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Could have been 2 touchdowns. There was also an opportunity for them. I believe it was 1st and goal when they were trying to tie up the game, or at least cut it down to a 1-point deficit late in that 4th quarter. A lot of Ravens fans or fantasy owners were holding their breath a little bit because he did go down for a play, but did come back in for the Ravens there. And then I also had Travis Kelce yesterday to go up and over his receptions, but that one didn't get there either. He only had 4 targets last night, 3 receptions, 34 yards. It was really Rashee Rice that led, at least from a statistical standpoint, for the Kansas City Chiefs, 7 receptions on 9 targets, 103 receiving yards. But Xavier Worthy looking like I guess living up to the hype of being a first-round draft pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. He did have the first touchdown for the Chiefs side of things on the jet sweep there. 1 carry, 21 yards on the touch, and then also had another touchdown in there, 2 receptions, 47 yards, and a receiving touchdown, a long catch of 35 yards where he was absolutely wide open, and Patrick Mahomes was able to find him there for the touchdown. So not a good start here for me, at least. I went 1 and 2. How did your props end up doing? I know we talked about Derrick Henry, but how did your other props end up going?
Yeah, the other ones went well. I was kind of on the fence just a tad bit, but I ended up getting there with Mark Andrews. Remember, I talked about just the car accident. Isaiah Likely, that chemistry. Hearing Harbaugh talk about how he's going to be a big part of the offense. So Andrews did stay under 49.5 receiving yards. And then Justin Tucker was pretty easy one, over 6.5 kicking points as well. Yeah. Even with him missing, the 50-plus yarder to get things started. So, yeah, overall was a good day, but, you never want to lose the best bet. And that was the one that I liked the most. So, yeah, always trying to do a little bit better here, Let's see if we can do just that.
Yeah, and I was trying to find the snap counts for Mark Andrews last night. They just haven't updated yet with at least the website that I do use. So maybe that'll come at the end of week 1. But yeah, it just seemed like that. I think you nailed it, right? With Mark Andrews, coming back from the car accident and maybe not getting a whole heck of a lot of practice time, that it was really Isaiah Likely show last night. Mark Andrews yesterday did have 2 receptions, but it was only on 2 targets last night. 2 players that had double-digit targets last night for the Ravens were Isaiah Likely, like we mentioned, and also Zay Flowers for the Baltimore Ravens. All right, we'll turn the page here. We'll get over to week 1 of the Sunday games here in the NFL with our player props here. Chris, I will let you lead it off here. Let's start here. If you do have a quarterback prop, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's do just that. There's a couple quarterback props, but I'll save a couple for we'll talk about them during the honorable mention. The quarterback I think I like the most here, is actually a road quarterback, which I was kind of wanting to target a home quarterback, but Jared Goff going back, right? I mean, we I know I don't have to be long on this when I'm talking to you because you took his his passing yards over for the full season, but 268.5 is the best number that I see for him to go up and over. And this line, definitely shop around because there's 6, 7, 8 different, yards that you can get here. I saw this all the way up to 274.5. But this is Jared Goff. This is Jared Goff. This is Jared Goff in a dome. This is Jared Goff against his old team. This is a defense for the Rams that is supposed to be improved. But, I think similar to what we saw from Baltimore's offensive line last night, when we're just expecting some of these, key units to, improve instantly, that might not always be the case. We also got the highest total that's on the board, and it's something that, Jared Goff has done recently. We know that they have, if not the best, I'm not here to argue, but if not the best, one of the top 3 offensive lines in football as well. So he'll have ample time to, get his to get those throws, deep down the field. And in the last game that they played last season, he went up and over this number as well, 277 yards in that game last season. Mm-hmm. And if I just went back and looked at the last few games, finished 5-0 to the over of 268.5 passing yards in the last 5 games that he played last season. So I like Jared Goff in this spot. There's also, the lingering injury issue that's going on with Jahmyr Gibbs, which could also lead to Jared Goff passing a little bit more. So I'll take Jared Goff, maybe potentially 300-yard passing game here, if they get things started in this 2024 season. Over 265.5. Best number I see, -114 over on FanDuel.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off. Obviously, like you mentioned, I did have him for a season long, over 4,500. And we're starting to see some money come in on the over in this game as well for Sunday night football. I think that number's now up to 52. So I think, the books and, maybe the sharper bettors expecting points to be put up in the Sunday night football game, which is the Rams and the Lions. You mentioned it, right? Being inside the dome where he's comfortable. It's obviously climate controlled. And where he did it in 5 straight games in the season last year, including against the Niners, 273. He had 287 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 277 against the Rams in that playoff game as well. So, I think Jared Goff is now really comfortable in the system, right? It's year 4, I believe, going into it here with the Detroit Lions. The weapons are back. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams was there as well. You mentioned the Jahmyr Gibbs injury, so maybe there is maybe a little slightly more pass plays that will be called here in this game here for the Lions, and in particular Jared Goff. So I do believe that he does get over this number as well. So I couldn't talk you off of that. All right, for my first player prop here, I was going to go with the quarterback that's going to be on the road here. I'm going to go over that game between the Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns, and I'm looking at Dak Prescott to go over on his pass attempts in this game. And a lot of it for me here, Chris,
Love it.
It's predicated, I think you're going to agree with this, is that there's no running game really there for the Dallas Cowboys, right?
I had this listed, so I'm interested to get your take, and it already sounds like we're in agreement, but I also had a player prop that correlates with this. So continue this elegant speech that we're going to give out and cash this player prop here.
So 35.5 right now is the number I see on DraftKings. Let me see if we do find a better number for that for Dak Prescott in this game. But number one, like
34.5, for like minus 160. So I think the 35.5 is probably best. This was literally 15 minutes ago.
Probably consensus. Yeah, I think 35.5 would be the number here. Let me just double check. Yeah, DraftKings, FanDuel. Yeah, it's 35.5 pretty much across the board. So yeah, we'll roll with that number there. But right, so last season they had Tony Pollard. He leaves for the Titans. Did have 1,000 rushing yard season, but they really didn't do anything to address the running back room. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott comes back, but I think he's going to be more of that short yardage down back for this team where they need a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Let's hand it off to Zeke. He'll get it for us. Not really a fan of Rico Dowell. We'll see what he's able to do, but it's also the fact that they're going up against one of the best, if not the best front sevens in the Cleveland Browns. And I think that if they're not going to have a lot of success running the football, that just means that you're going to have to throw the ball with Dak Prescott in this game. And, with Dak Prescott not having the contract yet, maybe something that he wants to do and go out and prove himself, that needs to go out there and throw the football around to his receivers, whether it's CeeDee Lamb, whether it's Jake Ferguson, whether it is Brandon Cooks, or the case might be. I just think this number is a little bit too low. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get into the range of 40 pass attempts in this game here, Chris. Haven't quite checked the weather yet in Cleveland. I'll do that here in a minute, but I haven't seen any games that will be impacted directly by weather, especially when we talk a lot about Cleveland. Sometimes with the winds and rain falling there, that there is a concern there, but I don't see anything that's going to be a hugely concerned this game in Cleveland with Dak Prescott. I mean, yeah, it looks like it's going to be sunny skies, comfortable temperature, so not really worried about weather in this game. But with all that being said, Dak Prescott over 35.5 pass attempts here, Chris.
Yes, sir. Absolutely love it here. You mentioned the biggest thing is the elephant in the room that didn't get addressed. Like you said, this is, offensive line is not projected to be as well as it was last season. If Dallas isn't passing the football, I'm not sure how they're going to generate offense with no Tony Pollard and bringing back an Ezekiel Elliott that is, at the later stages of his career now. 35.5 seems. We also got to remember, and I don't think this game is going to be a shootout at all. Not with the opposing quarterback and Deshaun Watson being over there, but Dak, just to kind of, let you know how much they love Dak and believe in him. He has 60 pass attempts the last time we saw him play against the Green Bay Packers, And before that, you go through the list. Against the Washington Commanders, 36. Against the Detroit Lions, 38. Against the Miami Dolphins, 32. The Buffalo Bills, 34. The Philadelphia Eagles, 39. Seattle, 41. So, just going through, what is that, 7-8 games? He's only under one of his last 8 games, and we're not seeing a way for them to move the ball. You mentioned that defense of the Cleveland Browns. They are top 5 rated defensive front 4. And you're not expecting any, explosion. So I love it. It coordinates, and I'll just go right into player prop number 2 for me. I love the Dak one. I'll be on that with you as well. But it correlates with Ezekiel Elliott to go under, right? And this is a super conservative number, but it's super conservative for a reason here. And I think it's 2 ways you could play it. So whatever makes the most sense to you. Under 9.5 rush attempts for Ezekiel Elliott and under 30.5 rushing yards for Ezekiel Elliott. So what the books are telling you here is that they expect Zeke to have somewhere between 10 carries for 31 yards. So about 3 yards a pop. And I don't know if he even gets that. This was a guy who, first and foremost, is a much improved defensive line. You still got, and we know, we outlined this when we did the divisional previews. The Cleveland Browns defense was probably the best, if not the second best defense when they played at home. We talked about how all of those home games stayed under the total. And we talked about how when they went on the road, they were shelling themselves and, just looked terrible. So you still got Myles Garrett. Zadarius Smith is still there. Dalvin Tomlinson is still there. And they've added some depth to even be better. This is going to be a scary defense to play, especially we think about, and I should have looked a little bit deeper into this, but when we think about the Cowboys playing outdoors as well, right? I didn't think this is going to be it's going to have to be a game where if Dallas is going to score or they're going to move the football, it's all going to be on CeeDee Lamb to go out there and make a bunch of plays, Jake Ferguson being the tight end out there, and Dak Prescott, his arm. So I'll take Ezekiel Elliott as well, to go under 30.5 rushing yards, and may end up getting there just slightly with the under 9.5 rush attempts as well.
I see 32.5 over at BetMGM, DraftKings, Bet365. Also see a 34.5 at Caesars and Bet Rivers. So yeah, we've always said get the best of the number, right? That's what we always preached when we talk about these player props. But I think I'll add to this here, Chris, that his longest rush attempt that I have listed is at 11.5. Last season, for Ezekiel Elliott when he was with the New England Patriots. Yeah, I'm sorry. He went over this projection just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the games that he played last season. And I think I'll do a deeper dive later after the show and see how he did against some of the top defenses, rush defenses in the league. I also like the under on this 11.5 here as well for his longest rush attempt to stay under that number of 11.5 here. So, I think it's going to be a very difficult situation for Ezekiel Elliott in this game. We might see them obviously splitting carries or him splitting carries with Rico Dowdle in this game here as well. So couldn't talk you off Ezekiel Elliott here. I like it for this game, especially against that front seven of the Cleveland Browns in this matchup. All right, before we get over to the next game, next player props for our NFL Week 1 picks, let me tell everyone about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Hey, look, NFL Week 1 is here, and Underdog Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000x your entry. As I said, with NFL being back, there are a ton of Pick'em specials to get you started. And you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. I really like the ones that we just mentioned about Dak and also Ezekiel Elliott. They're lowers for Zeke, and if you want to go higher on Dak's pass attempts, throw that into your entry. I think that's a great way to start your entry for NFL Week 1. So make sure you guys sign up with promo code MACHINE to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure that promo code MACHINE. All right, Chris, let's get over to player prop number 2, my friend. What do you got?
So I gave out Zeke. You segue. You threw You threw the oop. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right, so let me get into my second player prop here then. Let's go over to where do I want to go? I'll go with the running back here. We'll go over to that Chargers and the Raiders game. And I'm looking at Zamir White in this game to go over on his rush attempts of 14.5. And I saw a clip right before we got on, or at least I should say this morning, with Antonio Pierce. I think it was either a play-by-play analyst for the Raiders in some capacity, asking that the general question was, what are fans supposed to expect from Zamir White this season from the backfield there of the Las Vegas Raiders? And Antonio Pierce came out and said in so many words that he went back and mentioned what Zamir White did last season for this Raiders team when he took over as the running back for the Raiders. And we go back to the last 4 games of the regular season last year against this Chargers team, 17 carries, 69 yards. Against the Chiefs, 22 carries, 145 yards. Against the Colts on the road, 20 attempts, 71 yards. And in the final game of the regular season against the Denver Broncos, 25 rush attempts for 112 yards on the ground for Zamir White. And he said, Antonio Pierce, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he could get up anywhere from 15, 20 to 25 carries in this game for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I believe him when he says that, because, again, he mentioned what he did down the stretch for this Las Vegas Raiders team. And I think that he can pick up where he left off last season. Like I mentioned, just last year against his Chargers team, he had 17 carries and 69 rushing yards in that game there. So I like the spot here for Zamir White. Obviously, we know that Gardner Minshew is going to be the starting quarterback there for the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't expect the Raiders' game plan to be have him coming out there and flinging the ball all over the field. I think that you probably want to establish a run here with Zamir White and build your passing attack off of that. So I'm going to go with Zamir White over 14.5 rush attempts in this game. And I'm just curious to see what his number is going to be for his rushing yards as well, because I should have written that down. That number's around 55.5 is the cheapest number you could get on FanDuel. 56.5 at some of the other shops there as well. But I really do like Zamir White to come out and showcase, at least in week 1 here, Chris.
Yeah, and I just think that they're going to be a team that relies heavily on the run. If you mentioned it, I think, anytime Antonio Pierce is a part of any kind of game plan, and it's always going to be to play hard-nosed football, right? The type of football that he used to play. I think we always talk about, especially when they started to find some success last season, we talked about them embodying, his personality, right? And wanting to play the way, he kind of coached them to and the way he played, right? So, yeah, I think we'll see smash mouth football. Keep, Justin Herbert on the sideline as much as you possibly can. And, keep the turnovers down as well by just turning around and handing the ball off. This seems like a steal. I can't believe you got this at 14.5. And I don't want to jinx you, but I'll be telling. I like it.
Yeah, it's 14.5 across the board. It's a little bit juice at -1, north of -130. It's around -135, -136 up to -138 over on FanDuel. But the consensus number is right now at 14.5. So don't be surprised if this does move over to 15.5 here sooner rather than later. So if you could get to it, I would get to it fairly quickly here for Zamir White in this game against the Chargers. All right, Chris, take us over to player prop number 3, man. What do you got?
So player prop number 3, we will go. Let's go to. I'd be remiss without giving out a player prop for my Washington Commanders that I'm a tad bit higher on than I typically am here. I'll go Austin Eckler. This is a guy who has his receiving yards sitting at 18.5. And this kind of feels to me a little bit like last night, right? We see Derrick Henry. Go in there and be that starting running back, but then Justice Hill, plays a lot of those snaps, right? On third down and in those passing situations. And I'm expecting the same thing for my Washington Commanders. I'm not expecting Eckler to start, which is why I think this number is a tad bit conservative here. I'm expecting him to come off the bench and play behind Robinson to be that third down back. So you got a rookie quarterback on the road, first game of the season, against a pretty stout Tampa Bay front seven. So I do think that, to avoid some sacks, we'll get a couple dump downs here. This is something that Austin Eckler, throughout his career has been a pretty good receiving running back. That's, the dynamic that he brings to the field. And if you just go, I know he's 29 now, he's getting up there in age, and last year was a down year for him, but I think this is a pretty low number here. If I like, Jaden Daniels, I think that he's going to, be able to get the ball, up and down the field. And I think that the Commanders will rely on his arm a little bit more than they will the rushing attack that, isn't going to be too strong. You go back and look at Austin Eckler last season, he played in 14 games. And in those 14 games, he went up and over this 18.5 receiving yards in 10 of them. So that's a pretty nice hit rate, there as well. And I just expect the Commanders to attack the Bucs' weakness, which has been against passing attacks, right? This is a pretty good defense against the run, and I think it's just going to put Eckler out there, and he'll get enough snaps to go up and over this 18.5 receiving yards here, So I'll go Austin Eckler up and over 18.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off. I think we've talked a lot about where these rookie quarterbacks are coming in. That maybe if their first or second reads aren't there, your inclination may be to get it down to your running back. And I think Austin Eckler has proven throughout his career that he's a great pass catching running back. And when we talk about some of the other ones, we talk about the CMCs of the world, and we talk about the Travis Etienne's who's, turning that corner for him as well. But I feel like because Austin Eckler is kind of getting up there in age, like you mentioned, turning 29 years old now, that he's not talked about a lot. And I know that he was a guy that, when staying healthy, when he was with that Chargers team, he would fill up the box score and the stat sheets there. But I think this is something that is a good security blanket to have if you're Jaden Daniels, making your first start, especially on the road here, going into Tampa there. So going to talk you off of one here for Austin Eckler for the Commanders there. All right, for my third player prop here, I'm gonna go over to that game between the Titans and the Bears. And this was a guy last year who was really, really profitable for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there in top 4, top 5, leading the league in receiving yards. So I'm looking at DJ Moore to go up and over his 62.5 receiving yards in this game. And I think this might be one of the low-key games, Chris, that may turn into a little bit of a shootout, or at least points being put up. Look, I know they brought in Keenan Allen, but I feel like we talked about it during the division previews that he's not going to be maybe even a third or fourth option, honestly. He might be that third down pass catching back where if you need, third and short, you get that route over to Keenan Allen and Caleb Williams finds him that way. But just that pure explosiveness and the athleticism that DJ Moore has, the ability to get yards after the catch, I think is something that it's going to be on display this season. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields wasn't that guy last season, but when we talk about accuracy and a guy that can make the throws, Caleb Williams, they drafted him number 1 overall for a reason and maybe moved on from a guy like Justin Fields. And I was a Justin Fields fan, honestly. He cashed a lot of props for us last season, especially when we talked about the rushing props for him. But I think that this may just be a mismatch for this Titans secondary, just trying to contain these guys. I know they also drafted Rome Odunze out of Washington there as well. But DJ Moore is that guy, man. I'm glad that the Bears brought him over here to really display what this guy can do and will do, honestly. And you take a look at some of the numbers last season for DJ Moore. I mean, he was an absolute animal. Finished the season last year with, 1,364 yards. For the last 5 seasons, he was up and over 1,100 yards. The only season he didn't get there was that last season where he was with the Carolina Panthers. I know they were going through that quarterback carousel, but I'm expecting him to finish up right where he left off last season. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first year that he does have 100-plus receptions for this Bears team. And again, like I mentioned, I'm not saying he's going to be in that category of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, but I think he's definitely on that trajectory here. Now having stability at that quarterback position with Caleb Williams, I really do like him to get over this number of 62.5. I wouldn't be surprised, Chris, if we look back at the game after on Sunday and he had 100-plus receiving yards for the Chicago Bears team. So if you're a ladder player, those milestone players, I could see DJ Moore getting up to 100 yards in this game here. But at least right now, the official number over 62.5 for DJ Moore here, Chris.
Yeah, that seems super conservative, And when you started talking before you mentioned his name, I already knew where you was going because he's put a lot of money in your pocket before.
Yeah.
We do know that this Bears offensive line is much improved, and you mentioned it. Like you took the words out of my mouth as it relates to Keenan Allen. I do think that big step back for him, which is why I gave out the under for the full season from him. Like you said, Rome Odunze, you still got Cole Kmet, there as well. But DJ Moore is a very explosive wide receiver. 62.5 just seems really conservative. These are a couple markets that I didn't even look into. It's so many games and so many lines out. I didn't even look into that one. But I would have thought that, we saw something closer to, 70, mid-70 for explosive wide receiver like DJ Moore. So maybe it's because he's playing with a rookie quarterback, but Caleb, has looked pretty good so far. So we'll see how it goes. But I couldn't talk you off. I wouldn't be playing the under here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, before we get over to some honorable mentions for NFL Week 1 for our player props here, let me tell everybody about Rhythm. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is a #1 AI-powered back sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard or press build a model for me. And Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. The Rhythm college football model had me on Colorado versus North Dakota State under 59.5, which was a sweet cash. And I mentioned it right now. I just looked it up. DJ Moore, Rhythm is projecting him to have 100 receiving yards in this game. So, hey, I'm powered by the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform here with DJ Moore. Like I mentioned, this could be a great ladder opportunity for DJ Moore in this game. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Hey, look, we're getting to that time of year. We probably want to get out to the ballpark, or there's MLB season, obviously, with football season here as well. And look, let's be honest. A lot of times we all sometimes get frustrated of that ticket buying experience because it's number one, there's wait lines, you're getting those queues, or I think the most annoying fact is getting those hidden fees that add up at the end of your transaction when you go to checkout, and the ticket price is almost double of what you thought it was going to be. But Game Time is also now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in price views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Some of the features that I love about their app is, number one, as I mentioned, you actually get a panoramic view of your seat before you actually buy the ticket. Because once you get to that venue, you don't want any surprises when it comes to anything that's blocking your view. You know exactly what you're going to get from that app. And also, they also have last-minute deals, like I mentioned. You can save up to 60% off of buying tickets, not only for sporting events, but also for concerts, comedy, and theater, and much more. Their lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how confident they are in their prices. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Chris, let's get into some honorable mentions here, man. We could be here for another hour talking about this because there's a lot that I did like here, but I'll let you lead it off.
Yeah, I won't be too long here, enough. I guess one of the biggest ones that stand out to me, that kind of I'm interested in the wide receiver play for Mr. Justin Herbert here. So I saw that DJ Chark is listed as questionable with a hip. He did not practice the last 2 days. And then that immediately made me want to look towards Joshua Palmer, right? Like, why not? He's the number one target. Sounds like they've developed some pretty good chemistry for the time that Justin Herbert has been out there for the Chargers as well. And I thought the number was super conservative as well, 44.5. Given he's the number one option. The Raiders defense, the secondary specifically, isn't anything to write home about. The middle of the pack, I think, rated about 17th. They finished 16th in EPA allowed per pass last season. So I do think that that's the way that I know that bringing in Harbaugh, they're going to run the football a little bit more. But I thought Palmer's number was a bit conservative. Then I happened to look, and he is also popped up on the injury report as well. So those 3.5s coming down to threes, with him and Phillip Rivers popping up on the not Phillip Rivers, him and Herbert popping up on the injury report, which led me to this. If I said all that to say this, how do we feel about Mr. Ladd McConkey?
So the only pause, or not pause, I don't want to say pause, is that when I see significant turnover on the offensive side for it, especially for a team like the Chargers, it's kind of a wait and see approach for me because I don't know. And obviously you have a new head coach coming in from the college level, right? Because with Jim Harbaugh, we don't know what the approach is going to be, because I feel like traditionally maybe it is going to be a run first approach with the Chargers, but you have Justin Herbert there as well, right? I mean, from our arm talent perspective, probably top 5 in the league. Maybe I don't think that's an understatement there, but this Chargers game and the Raiders game is a specific one that I do want to watch, just because I want to see what it's going to look like for the offense for the Chargers, because for so many years we talked about it, right? With Austin Eckler being there, with Keenan Allen being there, that those were the two main guys that were really the focal point of that offense. And you had a lot of guys that were in other positions outside of, or other guys, I should say, that were really dealing with injuries, like Mike Williams. Names comes to that top of that list there for me. And then they had, tight ends there with Antonio Gates, and so Hunter Henry was there for a little bit there as well for this Chargers team. So I want to see what it looks like here, but I think that right now for this Chargers team, like if you're going to bet on the overs, like right now it's going to be the floor for them, because let's just say he goes out and has a 50, 60, 70 yards game. That number next week is, going to slowly creep up. And if he, continues getting those targets there, maybe we're going to miss out on that number. So I think that if you want to play anything with the Chargers as far as the skill positions, maybe put a quarter of a unit or maybe put a half a unit on it, which you're used to, and just see kind of how it plays out, because again, the value is definitely going to be there. It's just for me, Chris, I don't know like what the distribution of targets and what the honestly the offensive game plan is going to be for the Chargers there, Chris.
Yeah, I think that's a big component for myself as well. Like you said, I really want to see it, but I kind of feel like if we get, I think one of those guys are going to play. Either Chart will play or Palmer will play. And I'm thinking Palmer does play. Yeah. But if one of them doesn't play, boy, I think that, these numbers being super conservative, one of these guys probably fly up and over the total. Just not sure who it is going to be. Also consider, Josh Allen. Like, why wouldn't we look at Josh Allen? I mean, he's at home playing against the Arizona defense that ranked bottom 5 against the rush and the pass last season. And I'm pretty sure he got a lot to say about losing all of his offensive weapons, right? We know that they're going to run some double tight end sets and still be a pretty efficient offense, especially in week 1 at home against the Arizona Cardinals. So not to say, that they are going to cover the spread, but I think that they're going to do their part of, putting up points with that offense. The Buffalo offense, I don't expect to look bad this week. I expect it to look good with Arizona coming into town. So consider Josh Allen as well. If those were the guys that kind of jumped off the page to me. What about yourself?
So Josh Allen's rushing yards is something that might be intriguing here as well. I want to say last season, the Arizona Cardinals were one of the worst teams, if not the worst team, when it came to rushing yards allowed per game. Let me just double check here because I just pulled up the numbers here. Arizona last season allowed 143.2 yards on the ground, whether it was running back, quarterback, whatever the case might be. In the last 3 games, they gave up even worse, close to 160 on the ground there. So obviously Josh Allen, we know that he's not afraid to take off and utilize his legs. So I think that number of 31.5 rushing yards may be something that I would be intrigued by for him here as well. I'm going to go back to someone last season that we looked at early in the season and was a cash cow for us, and that was Adam Thielen. This number's at 39.5 for him. And I mean, we talked about the numbers. I believe this was, I think it was the final, one of the previews that we did do. And we talked about the numbers that or lack thereof, I guess we should say, after Adam Thielen for that wide receiving group for the Carolina Panthers. And I know, look, they brought over Deontay Johnson to kind of be that number 1 guy next to Adam Thielen here. But I think that when you talk about some of these wide receivers that do come over to a new team, I think it takes a little bit for that quarterback and the wide receiver to build that chemistry. And I'm not saying that Deontay Johnson won't get over his receiving yard numbers, because this number has, I think, gone from 48.5 up to 52.5. But I think when you talk about just having that rapport between Bryce Young and Adam Thielen, I think when it matters the most in some of those key moments of the game, that he will be probably looking for Adam Thielen. That number right now is at 39.5 for Adam Thielen. And I'm curious to see what his receptions are going to be in this game here as well. But if it's at a 3.5 I'm pretty sure at 39.5, the number might be a 3.5 for him, maybe juiced for Adam Thielen. Let me see if I can find it here. So yeah, he's at 3.5 at -155. So I think he does get over the yardage here at 39.5 here, Chris. That was one I was looking at. What else did I like? Amari Cooper is, I'll throw this out there. Amari Cooper is playing his first game against the Dallas Cowboys since he did get traded. So I don't know. I believe in revenge angles because I think these players are petty enough. But for some of the things that I've read out of Cleveland, especially with Deshaun Watson, I'm not sure that that he'll. I guess, live up to expectations, I guess, for lack of better words, because I did take the under on Deshaun Watson season long there for his passing yards for this upcoming season. But also the fact that Dallas Cowboys are going to be without Deron Bland for the entirety of the year. Diggs, their safety, also coming back from a torn ACL. So maybe a little bit thin there for the Dallas Cowboys. So I think this could be an opportunity for Amari Cooper to get up and over his receiving yards in this game. So those were the couple I was looking at here, Chris. J Mark asking, what do we think about Josh Allen over on his 1.5 passing touchdowns in this game here? You have any thoughts on that one for Josh Allen there, Chris?
Yeah, I wanted to try to. That's what I was actually looking for. If I saw this comment in the chat, I wanted to see what his number was what the juice was on it, because I didn't even think about this. But yeah, I'm expecting them to throw 2 touchdowns. I see
minus 130 on DraftKings.
Yeah, minus 127. I see. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad look at all. Implied probability tells that he throws it, and I'm not sure how many passing touchdowns that Arizona. I don't have the number in front of me right now as far as Arizona defense and how many passing touchdowns they allowed last season. But Josh Allen at home, yeah, I would think that he'd be able to throw 2. And, he gets an Arizona defense that, definitely going to give up the yards. And, all it takes is one of those plays to end up in the end zone. So, yeah, I would endorse Josh Allen to go up and over the 1.5. How about yourself,
Yeah, Kentucky over. I feel like this is to be a game where Josh Allen has to come out and, I don't want to say make a statement, but obviously with all the turnover that they did have at the wide receiving group there, obviously Stephon Diggs coming to Houston, Gabe Davis going to the Jaguars. So it's Dalton Kincaid there. I think it's going to be a tight end first, possibly until they have some more chemistry with some of the other wide receivers that they do have there. Obviously, Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir there as well, Curtis Samuel there as well. So maybe not traditional names that the casual fan knows, but I think it might just take a little bit for those receivers and to get going to the regular season. Which also looked at James Cook on his receiving yards coming out of the backfield there for the Buffalo Bills there. So I think at least in the first maybe week or two, we look at some of the guys that Josh Allen already has that rapport with, the Dawson Knox of the world, the Dalton Kincaids of the world, the James Cooks of the world, maybe even Khalil Shakir. I know he's been there for a while there as well for the Buffalo Bills there. So yeah, I think that 2 passing touchdowns is definitely something that Josh Allen can 100% do. Because I don't have the game log in front of me, but again, Josh Allen, I think that that's definitely a possibility. I think the only thing that may scare you a little bit there is that he likes to utilize his leg, especially when we get down inside the 10-yard line and scrimmage or run in for the touchdown. But again, he has those 2 big tight ends that he can also throw the football to as well. Do you have any other honorable mentions there, Chris, before we get into touchdown scores?
No, we can cut it off there,
All right, let's get into our touchdown scores for this NFL Week 1. I think we both give out Derrick Henry yesterday, and he got the first touchdown of the game there. I know you had the full season long over 10.5 for him, so already a great start there for him to be on the board with 1 for the season there. But anything that stood out to you as far as touchdown scores?
Yeah, be remiss, without mentioning it. I think you mentioned Isaiah Likely yesterday too. I think, what was that, plus 350? 350? Yeah,
I think it's like 350, 375, something in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Shout out to, hopefully, people, dabbled and put a little sprinkle on that as well. As far as touchdown scores, I'm gonna go with the guy that that I like season long, and that being Bijan. He gets a very difficult defense in Pittsburgh. I do think that they're going to bring it, but I'm just expecting him to be utilized a lot more, So I'm not sure if it's going to be a passing touchdown or, a receiving touchdown or rushing touchdown. But I do expect that if Atlanta gets down to the goal line at home in week 1, that he will be able to get the ball and push them into the end zone. I think we could, kind of see them rely a little bit more on Bijan to start the season as Kirk Cousins kind of gets reacclimated coming off that season-ending injury that he sustained last season. So I like Bijan a lot. I think the other guy that really stood out to me, was who was it? It was somebody named that I didn't write down. We just talked about him. It was Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, like you just mentioned it, right? 2 big tight ends. Arizona defense that, really struggled to defend the pass last season. So I think you can get both of those guys still at plus money right now. Those are the two guys that kind of stick out to me without going too deep into the touchdown bag and trying to put together, 7, 8 of them in a parlay or something.
I think so. First one I'll mention is I like Jonathan Taylor for the Colts to find the end zone here. That's right around even money, or you can even find a plus 105 for him over on DraftKings. I think that in this first game, at least, we'll see a heavy dose of the running game, whether it is Anthony Richardson utilizing his legs a little bit, or it's Jonathan Taylor being featured here as well. But I do think that he'll be able to find the end zone here against the Texans. So I do like JT to find the end zone. What better way to make a splash in your rookie year than Malik Neighbors, plus 145, something similar to maybe Xavier Worthy, what we saw on Thursday night there. The only difference is that you have Daniel Jones from the football team instead of Patrick Mahomes. But we know the ability that Malik Neighbors has, right? We saw it at collegiate level. We saw the flashes here of it in OTAs, practice, things like that. But I think that this could be one of those games where it could be a little bit of higher scoring. Does make me nervous with Daniel Jones there as a quarterback. But I think Malik Neighbors can definitely find the end zone here at plus 145. I think that is it. Adam Thielen plus 320. I think that's a great value there. He had a good amount of touchdowns last year for this Carolina Panthers team. And again, excuse me, the season, if they're going to have success, they're going to have to score points. And I think that at least for the first couple of weeks here, Adam Thielen is going to be that guy that's probably going to get those numbers. And the last one I'll throw out there, I talked about him extensively, Zamir White plus 165. I think that's pretty good value there as well for him to find the end zone there. If you want to get him at 2+ touchdowns, that number's at 15-1 as well. Devontae Adams, not bad at plus 195 there as well. So, a couple guys I do like there to find the end zone here for NFL Week 1. All right, Chris, let's wrap it up here with our best bets for the first week of the Sunday games, at least. Where are you taking us for your best bet?
We're going straight back to the top. We're going Jared Goff up and over to 268.5. Best number I saw, like I said, over on FanDuel. And it's a number that he crushed last. Well, I wouldn't say crushed, but he went up and over last season. We talked about this being one of the better, if not the best offensive line in football. You got Goff. You got him playing in the dome. You got him playing his old team. Highest total on the board. I think Jared Goff could exceed 300 passing yards this week. So we'll go Jared Goff up and over to 268.5. Best bet.
Couldn't talk you off, man. I think, again, like I mentioned, I took the over on his season-long player prop, so that'd be a great way to start the season for Jared Goff against his former team in the Los Angeles Rams. All right, for my best bet, it's between either Dak Prescott or Zamir White. I really do like both of those. I'm going to go with Zamir White over 14.5. And I think that, when the coaches come out and, say that you want to do X, Y, and Z, I think that, especially from a guy like Antonio Pierce, I think that's going to happen. And we saw, and we mentioned the numbers of what he was able to do last season at the tail end of it when he took over as the running back one for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think that's something that can carry into the season here for Zamir White. And you mentioned, right, I don't think that they'll let Gardner Minshew come out and just fling the ball all over the field. That you probably want to establish the running game here a little bit and build your passing game off of that as well. And we know the explosiveness that Zamir White has there as well. I know last season was a short sample, but I think now him being RB1 there for this Las Vegas Raiders team, I think that, again, this could be a game where he does have upwards of 17, 18, possibly even 20 carries in this game for the Las Vegas Raiders. And just going back to last season, the final 3 weeks of that of the season last year, he had 20 or more carries in 3 straight games, 22, 20, and 25. So asking him to get 15 here, I think, against the Chargers, I think it's more than capable of doing that. So I'll go with Zamir White over 14.5 rush attempts in this game against the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the Propcast NFL Week 1. officially our plays and the episode in the books. Can't believe I'm actually saying that. Hopefully it is a very, very profitable weekend for us as far as our plays go here. Hopefully some of these guys do find the end zone for us as well. But Chris, anything else you want to mention, my man, before we go our separate ways?
Nah, man, just bet responsibly. You always got week 2 through 17 as well, and enjoy the action, man.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Obviously, game on Thursday night, Friday night, and then we have college on Saturday, and then we get to the NFL on Sunday. So definitely looking forward to all of it throughout the weekend here. Make sure you guys follow my guy Chris over on Twitter. That's at ChrisBeCappinn with 2 P's and 2 N's. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, if you haven't already subscribed to the Propcast YouTube channel, go ahead and do so there. And obviously, wherever you do get your audio platform, audio version of it, whether it's on Apple, whether it's on Spotify, do us a favor, leave us a rating and review. Definitely do appreciate it. All right, we'll be back next week. Maybe I'll bug Chris over the weekend, so if you want to do something for Monday Night Football between the Jets and the Niners. And maybe you'll get on an episode then. If not, we'll be back next week for Thursday Night Football as usual. All right, enjoy the games this weekend. Bet responsibly, and always remember to let it ride.